Hey, y'all.
Morning.
Tuesday morning, 8 o'clock. Time to yak about something. And we started talking about sitcoms.
Yeah,
And
sitcoms, because I feel like sitcoms nowadays, I'm probably get crucified for it, but I don't think of a lot of sitcoms out there. I think there's some there's been some funny ones that have been on streaming and stuff like that, but I don't, there's not like this huge sitcom plethora of choices to choose from. So I look back at some of the sitcoms to me that are still funny after all this time, like watching them over and over again, or even taking a break and going back and watching them.
what keep in mind too that we went through COVID, then we went through a writer's strike. And I think that lapse in there just kind of took the juice out of a lot of the comedy shows. Today, I just don't see the writing that we used to have.
It's all about writing. It's all about writing. I
Yeah,
mean, they're using they've said it. They're incorporating AI with writing, and it shows. And they're not paying their writers enough. And no, I totally agree.
right.
Which is why we got the writer's strike. So
Yeah. I think looking back, probably one of the most successful sitcoms out there that really did not have a structured writing regimen was Seinfeld. Seinfeld, they used to come up with just an idea, a little idea, and they could build a whole half-hour show around that one little idea.
well, and that's what yeah, and you look at what, Larry David or whatever, what he did with Curb Your Enthusiasm. That's
Right.
exactly the same concept. Now, I'm gonna tell you, I'm not a Seinfeld fan. I didn't like the show.
Really?
It's not funny to me. No, it's not funny. It's annoying. I'm not into it.
And to this day, every once in a while, if there's, especially like on the weekends, if there's a golf tournament and there's a tennis match going on and a baseball game and all that kinds of, and I'm just not into watching a sports game or something, I start looking through some of the old channels, and there are a few that do play the old sitcoms. And every once in a while, I will just watch a few episodes of Seinfeld. And I mean, it
Well,
was
you can watch all of it on Netflix. It's all on net
well,
or
yeah.
I think it's on HBO right now. I can't remember.
Yeah,
Um,
and
but
it was just the characters. I mean, Michael Richard, who played Cosmo, uh, uh,
Kramer,
Kramer,
Cosmo's a dog.
Cosmo Kramer. Just I mean, every time he used to bust through the door, it was just his demeanor that you got into. It was almost like Don Knotts when he would walk onto the Andy Mayberry set.
Yeah, I don't know what. Look, I got nothing. I got nothing for Seinfeld. I don't think it's funny. I don't. I matter of fact, I got to be honest with you. There's not one character on that show that I like.
Really?
No,
Hello,
I.
Newman.
It's not even. I'm just like,
Just
what am I doing here? Like I've tried. I'm like, maybe I
yeah.
missed it. Maybe I missed the boat on it. But I just watch it and I'm like, the other thing too, with my biggest issue with some of those rewatches on comedies that are good, like, is the laugh track. I hate laugh tracks.
Yeah.
I don't need somebody to pretend to be laughing or to tell me that I'm supposed to laugh. So sometimes it's hard for me to watch even a good sitcom from back in the day
Yeah.
because of the laugh track.
Yeah. You know
It's
what one of those
awful.
was? It was Sanford and Son.
Sanford Son's great.
Yeah. Yeah.
Good Times, even though Good Times had a lot of drama to it too, Good Times is great.
Yeah.
Those are great shows. Different Strokes, great show. Funny, good life lessons. And I know it has a last laugh track, but those are in like the late 70s and the 80s, and they kind of made sense. When I watch a show like from like 90s on that has a laugh track, I'm like, I'm out. I'm out.
Yeah. Yeah. And I don't really understand why they needed the laugh tracks anyway. Although some of them stopped using live audiences, stopped
They
doing it
did.
in front of
They
live
did.
audiences, so they thought that it was needed, but it should be the writing of the show that brings on the laugh of the
Brings
people
on the
that are watching
laughter.
it.
Yeah, absolutely. couple of my favorite sitcoms to go back and rewatch. I mean, obviously The Office, even when it with Steve Carell left, it got a little weird, but I absolutely love that show. I thought that the chemistry between the entire cast, each time I've watched it, mind you, I've watched it a lot. I always pick up something different from like a facial expression, or I start to pay attention to other characters
A
instead of
reaction.
the
Yeah.
main ones. And I just I quote it. It's funny. Same thing with Parks and Rec, and of course, my favorite, New Girl. New Girl is my show. Like, I wish there was more seasons.
Yeah.
Every time I watch it, I'm dying, or I pick up something unique, and none of those have laugh tracks, so that's a bonus.
One of my oldies that I still go back to, and I mean, maybe you'll agree, maybe you didn't like it. 2.5 Men.
I don't know, man. I didn't like.
I mean, just Charlie
It was
Sheen,
good back in the day.
the
Look,
writing of that
yes,
show, the liners, with Charlie Sheen and what's his name, the brother,
yeah,
uh,
yeah,
that they used to play off. But one of my favorite characters in that show was Berta, the housekeeper.
sure. Well, yeah, absolutely.
She got the best one-liners and reactions and all that. It kept you laughing all the time.
Yeah, they did a really good job with that. It wasn't my, I mean, I've watched several episodes and I get it. It's not my show, but I totally get that. I get that one more than Seinfeld. I don't understand Seinfeld. I don't understand it.
Well, Seinfeld, the only thing was if you didn't kind of like the subject matter of that show, it was going to be that subject matter over and over and over again, whether they were talking about a conversation in the coffee shop or the soup kitchen or whatever. The 30 minutes was devoted for that one little topic instead of
Yeah, and
being
instead of
broad-based.
changing but I mean that's typical of more of most shows anyway. For the most part, in comedy, is there is a general theme, and that's it. So I don't know if it was necessarily that. I gotta be honest with you, it's the people. I don't like any of them. I don't, and you know what the thing is? This is how I know it. I don't like watching them in other stuff. So when I've seen them in other stuff, I'm like, yeah, I just don't like you. Like not on a personal level, just you
No.
know.
Well, yeah, you're right about that because sometimes they become so, for instance, when some of the characters from Andy of Mayberry, Don Knotts, and also Gomer Pyle, when he
Sure.
went from just being that second character or so in the show to having Gomer Pyle USMC show, I just couldn't relate. I couldn't
Didn't
relate to
work.
it.
It didn't
The
work.
spin-offs, the
Yeah.
spin-offs, the spin-offs from Happy Days were a
Yeah.
little
Happy
hard to
Days was a
follow.
great show.
Yeah, Happy Days was a good show, but the spin-offs, Joni Loves Chachi
Yeah, not into
and
it.
some of those didn't quite get it. But I think I was to MASH what you are to The Office.
Probably.
MASH, I just loved all the characters because sometimes all the characters in the show would interact. Sometimes it was half of them would interact for one show and then some would interact for another show.
Hmm.
But that was a show that again I watched when it was original, and then I
Yeah.
also started to watch when it hit the reruns.
When it hit the reruns. I'll tell you what a show that I love was the Bernie Mac show. The Bernie Mac show had me. Oh, Bernie Mac was great. We
Yeah,
lost a good one there. But that Bernie Mac show, man, I loved that show. Another one that I really enjoyed too, that I went back and started rewatching, was Everybody Hates Chris, a Chris Rock show
right.
about his life. The cast was great. The kid that played Chris Rock was phenomenal. Uh, it's funny. Now, somebody told me, hey, why did they stop at a certain point? It wasn't that the show got canceled. It got to a certain point in Chris Rock's life where they couldn't do a show about it because of the things that happened and took place.
Right.
So he stopped at a certain point, but that had 4 or 5 seasons. And I've gone back and started to watch some of those again. And I got to tell you, it's funny, man. It's good still.
The, And there's one that when I talk to other people, they think was really great, and it ran for season after season after season. I never got into it. Was The Big Bang Theory.
I cannot stand the Big Bang
I
Theory. I think it is the most overrated, not funny show I've ever seen. And I'm a nerd.
yeah,
So
and
I do not like it. I don't understand. I've talked to people like, oh man, I was watching Big Bang last night. I'm like, why? Like it's not funny. I
but
don't get
not
it.
only that, but every year they walked off the stage with Emmy awards. And I never
Oh well,
quite figure it out because again,
I can't either.
a lot of that, it was like Friends for nerds.
It really was. And like I said, I'm a nerd, so I thought if anything, I mean, they're definitely nerdier than I am, but I thought like maybe I could get behind it. And no, I felt the same way about How I Met Your Mother too, though. And I liked God, I forgot his name, the dude who played Doogie Howser. What is that guy's name? Um, whoever he is, and he's just funny. Neil Patrick Harris. I like Neil Patrick Harris. His
Yeah,
character on the show was the best thing about the show, but I didn't like the show at all.
yeah. And also that was one of those shows where it just seemed like they were always sitting in the booth.
They're always sitting in the bar.
You know,
Always.
most of the set was them in the booth interacting, and they would have, you know, it would almost be a similar writing script week after week after week after week. I
Yeah.
didn't see an awful lot of changes in it. Um, gosh, Married with Children.
That, okay, so I think that's a really good show. And I thought it was, especially for when it came out, it was definitely
It
different.
was edgy when
It
it
was
first came
edgy.
out.
So
Yeah,
I'm not going to say I'm a big fan, but I get it. I get it.
yeah, and of
And
course,
and a lot of people love that one. A lot of people, I there's some animated shows, animated quote unquote sitcoms out there. One of them being South Park, obviously. I've gone back and tried to watch, and I appreciate South Park still to this day because nothing's off limits. But I went back to try to watch it, and I don't know if I'm just older now. I'm like,
South
same
Park,
thing with
you know,
Family Guy doesn't hit me. I'm just like,
yeah.
eh.
But because South Park was the original of that genre, and then all of a sudden then somebody said, "Well, let's do another series like South Park," and one after another. And I don't think that the sequels ever did what South Park did because South Park was the leader. All in the Family with
Yeah.
Kevin
Oh, that was a great
Connor
show.
and you know that that set a tone and it was unique and there were other shows that came on that tried to have that same comedy flow. They never quite got there.
They didn't work. And you know what I really liked about All in the Family too was, I mean, you got the Jeffersons with that connection, and both of those shows, phenomenal. And the Jeffersons, pretty much 90% of it took place in their apartment.
Yeah, that's right.
I mean, I'm not saying they didn't go to other parts, but for the most part, it was there in the apartment, and it was great.
Yeah, it was. Those were good shows, and I'm glad that those shows either are on. There's a couple of channels that are just nothing but the old sitcoms, reruns of
Sure.
the old sitcoms. Uh,
Yeah.
or you can just go back and watch them because there are just times when you want to watch something that was funny and clean, not
Yeah. You just want humor. You just want some.
some of the comedy shows today have seem to be a little bit too edgy or
I agree.
suggestible, you know, and you just go back to those old days like Gilligan's Island and everything and just laugh at the sake of what's on. The Golden Girls was
Golden Girls, classic
one of
comedy.
the best written comedies ever because it was just nonstop, one after another. I would love to have been in the room with those writers
Just
when
going
they were
after it.
throwing out those lines.
The thing when I was younger, like real young, um, Nickelodeon used to have Nick at Night. And one of the biggest things I used to do when I was younger, I mean, this is a long time ago, guys, like 35 years ago, Like I was 10 or something, or even who knows. I would stay up late. I would want to stay. Hey, I would pick a night, Friday. I want to stay up all night. That was my big thing. And we didn't have streaming services. We didn't have DVD players. We had
Right.
VHS, but VHS tapes were still super expensive. So we had Nickelodeon, and I wasn't allowed to watch any other channel after because you couldn't go to HBO at 9 o'clock, 10 o'clock at night. You get some stuff you're not supposed to see, but I would go and just have my snacks. We had a couch that was a fold out bed, which I thought was epic, and I would just have my snacks and watch Honeymooners, Happy Days, just all these great shows. And it would go on for 3-4 hours. It was phenomenal. And here I am at 10 years old, appreciating those shows that were long gone since I've been born, but they were still funny.
Yeah. And I think that for me today, one of the reasons that sometimes I delve back into some of those old sitcoms is because the news channels that are out there now,
Ah,
a lot of the shows that are out there now are so depressing, and the storylines are just
well, yeah. So, and sometimes you don't want seriousness. You don't need
that's
it.
right.
You don't need it. So
You
when
want to
they
go
do
back and
that, you're like,
it's like watching a Melissa McCarthy movie.
right,
You know that it's just going to be funny, and it's going to just take your mind off of everything else, and you're going to sit there and just chuckle or laugh out loud.
sure, sure, yeah.
And I guess that's what people do when they tune into the trash talk is
Hopefully,
they,
yeah.
they usually tune
That's the
into
game
us
plan.
to chuckle and laugh out loud.
Just chill and talk about some fun stuff and go back and watch your movies, guys. You should
That's
tell us, you should drop your comments and tell us what sitcoms do you enjoy? Which ones do you go back and watch? Which ones are on rotation? What are some that maybe we didn't talk about that we need to check out? And you can definitely drop your comments everywhere from YouTube to
yeah,
Spotify to the website, everywhere. Lots of links, lots of options. We want to hear from you.
very good. Drop in. Maybe you'll get a sticker.
Maybe I only got a couple left because
Only got a couple. Oh, you better hurry, folks, because there's only a
yeah,
couple left.
I need to reorder some, but I just keep handing them out to randos. So
They may be due for a redo too.
they are. I need to get a new logo going. Putting too much work on my plate right now, though, guys.
All right. Go out, make it a good one. Stop back, see us again, 8 o'clock next Tuesday morning. Bye.
See you later.